welcome to Africa Chess Updates with me, CMDJM. Today I have a very interesting game for you between international master R.GWAZE, who was a one-time Africa champion, and former FIDE champion Grandmaster Ponomariov. So this game was played at the FIDE World Cup in Russia 2011. So for those of you who are not familiar with the FIDE World Cup, it's one of the biggest chess events that has 128 participants from all the countries in the world. Africa actually sends 6 participants. Europe has the largest number of participants because it has the most Grandmasters. And with Africa, you have 3 participants coming from the zones, and R.GWAZE was representing zone 4.5. Then you have 3 participants coming from the Africa Championships, the ones who place first to third. So anyway, this game was played in Russia in the second round, the second game of the first round, because you play 2 games. You play 2 games each, and then if you get knocked out, whoever wins the game proceeds to the next round. So this was actually the second game, because having lost the first game with the black pieces. So after e4, c5, knight f3, e6, we have d4, takes, knight f6, and knight c3, d6. So we have a hedgehog position here. In this position, white can continue bishop e2, bishop e3, a4. Actually, there's a number of moves here that he could try. But GWAZE being behind probably and needing to score a point to remain in the tournament shows a more aggressive continuation. G4. And after h6, bishop h6, h3. Okay, I think I should say h3 is probably not a common move in this position. I was expecting something like bishop e3 here, signaling the English attack. But anyway, after h3, we had knight c6, bishop e3, bishop d7, and queen e2. So white intends to castle queenside, since he's already launched his attack on the king side. In such positions, black usually plays on the queen side, normally down the c file, rook c8, ne5, trying to create some kind of counterplay, even a6, b5. And I think that's what Ponomariov tried, but then failed to do in this game. So after knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, we have queen a5, long castles, rook c8, and king b1. So white first tucks his king away before he proceeds to continue his attack on the king side. I think I should say at this point, bishop times f6 is actually not a good move, because even though you sort of break up the structure on the king side, you expose your own knight on c3 to some threats. It's easier for black to generate threats on the queen side because the bishop is no longer guarding the dark squares. So it's actually not a good move to take on f6. King b1 is a prophylactic move, safeguarding the king while preparing your own attack. Black here continued bishop to e7. Now the computer has an interesting suggestion here, pawn to e5, with the idea of kicking away the bishop. Then after bishop e3, rook c3 can be played. And however white captures, let's say captures queen takes c3, then queen takes c3, bc3. After ne4, we have a position where black is an exchange down, is an exchange down for a knight and a pawn, but he's managed to halt the attack on the king side by getting rid of the more dangerous pieces, and he's also broken up white's pawn structure, and should have good chances here, to good drawing chances. So maybe Ponomariov saw this as too risky and just continued the more standard bishop to e7 here, and after queen d2 he played bishop to c6. Now I don't particularly like this move because first of all it blocks the rook on c8, you know, which is key to black's counterplay on the queen side. And you'll notice that after this move black gets into a lot of trouble. He just goes on to the defensive and actually got a losing position, and was actually supposed to lose this game, which is very interesting if you think about it, because at this point I think Ponomariov, when he played this game, was world number 8, and international master R.GWAZE was rated 24, just over 2400. And the fact that he achieved the winning position in this game, I mean, is testament to his strength. So after bishop c6 f3, black continued a6, intending b5 to create some counterplay on the queen side, and then queen f2 is a very interesting move, because now b5, black played queen c7 because b5 loses on the spot to bishop to b6, queen b4, and a3. And as you can see, the queen is trapped on b4. So I guess that's why Ponomariov first played queen c7, safeguarding the queen before trying to launch his offensive. GWAZE here continued bishop to b6. Now the best move in this position would have been h4, just to continue with the attack whilst his bishop is still centralized and still guarding the knight. The bishop's well placed on d4, and since black has no immediate threats, white should have just continued with his attack immediately here. The engineer gives white an advantage of 1 plus 5, 9. So bishop to b6 was played instead, queen b8, h4, d5. Now d5 is a clear indication that, you know, black was not happy with this position. You know, he's facing a lot of difficulties. I mean, firstly, he can't castle king side here, so it's hard for his king to find safety. He can't castle king side, he can't castle queen side, you know. So it's quite questionable if d5 is a good move in this position, because now he's opening the center and his king is actually in the center, and as we shall see, it gets into a lot of trouble here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of good options here. So I guess d5, and after bishop a7, repetition of moves, then e times d5, knight takes, bishop takes d5. White played queen e3, most likely with the idea of supporting the g5 advances the next move. Probably his idea here is to play g5 and g6, you know, combined with the idea of, let's say for instance black plays queen, I don't know, random move, queen d6 here. Okay, queen d6 loses on the spot. Maybe bishop d6. And the idea is g5 in conjunction with the idea of g6 and bishop h3 with he1, you know, attacking the isolated pawn on e6. That will become isolated if white black plays f times g6. So after queen e3, Ponomariov can continue bishop to c6. Bishop e2 here, bishop d6, queen d4 attacking g7 and attacking the bishop. So bishop e5 is the only move, and queen b4. Now this move kind of illustrates Black's dilemma here. His king is completely stuck in the center, and his queen is badly placed on b8. Can actually only go to 2 squares here, a8 and b8. His rook can't come to d8. His rook also can't come to d8. The only pieces that are a bit mobile for Black here is minor pieces. And his king is completely unsafe here. So already here White has a very good position, and he built up on this advantage until he got a winning position, which unfortunately for him he failed to convert in the end and didn't make it through to the next round. So g6 is a mistake here, just further weakens the king side. The dark squares on the king side, but it's actually hard to suggest a move for Black here. Rook h f1, preparing f4 f5 here, which Black tries to prevent by playing g5. Now at this point, White has a strong move here, which is actually hard to find, because it doesn't suggest itself, you know. Naturally, it's a computer move, but after bishop to c4 here, the computer is giving an evaluation of 2.5, 2.6. This position is now completely winning for White, and I mean it makes perfect sense. White's queen is active on b4. His bishop is excellently placed on b6. Both his rooks are in the game, and on the Black side it's the total opposite. All of his pieces, okay, none of his pieces are well placed, save maybe the bishop on e5. So if we were to try to continue from this position, let's say for instance Black tries something like I don't know, bishop to f6. After bishop c4, maybe bishop f6. White simply continues f4. After gf5, maybe let's begin with gf4. Yeah, here rook on f to e1. So finally, the last piece is brought to the attack. White's threatening already some sacrifices on e6, and I think Black is pretty helpless here. For example, if Black tries maybe to reinforce e6 from taking bishop to 7, White can continue. Okay, bishop b3. Now I think the intention of bishop b3 here is, to get the a4 square for the bishop. That way White can sacrifice on d7 in the next move. Because after rook takes d7, king takes d7, and bishop a4 check, I mean, it should be quite devastating for Black. And already the computer is giving a +4 advantage for White, because moves like bishop e7, for instance, attacking you can lose instantly if you into d4. And a move like, say, maybe rook c6. Is met by bishop d4 with a the same idea of if bishop takes d4, then queen takes d4 attacks both the rook and the bishop. And it's hard to see what it's really hard to see what white can play here. So another move we can look at, maybe after bishop to c4 instead of bishop f6. Instead of bishop f6, is maybe bishop to c7. Try to exchange with the dark square bishop. That's limiting black so much. White continues here, queen c3, and after bishop to e5, because rook j8 here doesn't really work because of h takes g5. H takes g5, there's an immediate sacrifice on e6. After f e6, the queen just comes in with devastating effect on f6. Bishop d7 can be met by, okay, I first calculated rook time d7. Computer later showed this to be not so accurate. Rook f to e1 here is just completely winning. Because the black king is just overwhelmed by the number of pieces that are attacking. So unfortunately for Africa, this move bishop c4 here did not appear on the board, and instead after g6 we had here h1, g5, and we have bishop g4, which is not such a bad move in itself, because white still has an advantage here, but unfortunately this led to some simplifications later on. After rook h1, of course threatening h takes g5, black does not play h takes g5 because of the h6 pawn. Pawn because that would weaken the pawn on h6, White could always double on the h file or play bishop to e3 in conjunction with the rook on h1, attacking the backward pawn. So after bishop f6 we had takes, rook he1. Obviously white wants to keep his pieces, attacking pieces on the board, so he brings the rook to the center. Black wants to exchange pieces, which is always a good idea when you're under attack. You need to reduce the number of attackers. So black offers the queen exchange, queen f4, which white wisely avoids. And after rook h2, we start to see a lot of simplification now occurring in the game. Black wisely is exchanging off a lot of the attackers. And after a number of exchanges here, the game petered out into a queen ending, which fortunately for Ponomariov he was able to hold. I think I should say here, at this point, the pawn on c5 is not as dangerous as it looks, as you will see a bit later. After rook e2, ab4, rook e4, after c6, the move rook e1 just solves all of black's problems, because the king on e8 now, which was bad during the middle game, is now better off now in this ending because it's close to the queenside pawn. So after rook takes, queen takes e1 check, king a2, queen e5, threatening queen d5 in this position, swapping off the queens and then following up with king to d8 and king c7. White avoided the queen exchange, queen d5, queen c3, check, and after king to a2, and king d8, eventually the game drew after 8-8 moves. So I'm not going to go into all of that. I think the point I was trying to prove here is that this game shows that, Robert here played extremely well and was up to the test. I mean, for an international master at this point to hold his own and even have a winning position, and he found bishop c4 against the former world champion, one of the world's best players. You know, it's quite amazing. So I hope you liked the video. Please don't forget to click like, subscribe for more videos. If you have any comments, just leave them on the link below, and keep watching Africa Chess Updates.